Good morning. It's Fort Worth Playboy, and welcome to the Fort Worth Playboys morning show. Hopefully, this morning will go smoothly. We'll have no sick children, technical glitches, um, no catastrophe, and come through this morning in the next 20 to 30 minutes and give you some game information, pickup, relationship, and sex, which are the big four things that generally we talk about on this show. Usually we'll go through the timeline. And like what I always kind of convey to people is, people in our world, this red pill and game, there's a lot of debate. There's a lot of like men's rights. There's a lot of, how it should be. But when people come to mine or Bunny's timeline, we try to stay with the tactical, applicable things you can do that day to increase the number of women you're attracting, the strength of their attraction, and how long they're attracted to you. I mean, it's small things, even like posture, where you stand up straighter and you look more confident and taller, which are two of the biggest attraction triggers for women. And it's little things like that that starts adding up, and then you are a more attractive man, moving more women into your into your orbit. And that's what we're here for. So a lot of it's just reinforcement. You'll see a lot of the basics, and that's what I started doing Twitter for, was to reinforce the basics of game, because that's how you internalize it. Is you have to see it repeatedly in different forms of examples in order to internalize it, and it becomes automatic. So let me get my screen share up, see if I can do it right the first time. It's the little things. It reminds me, me working on this computer kind of reminds me of like when I would see my dad typing with one finger, and like every man in the office was typing with one finger. I kind of get that. I'm a little bit behind on the speed of technology, even though I've been doing this for like 15, 20 years now. Maxim number 2. All successful seductions are adversarial in nature. Chateau Hartis, Great Royalty. Again, and adversarial is kind of like when you're in court, somebody has to win. But when we say that, there is a dynamic with men and women on a very first date, which is my best example. And that's, yes, it's adversarial, but what I always try to put men in the positive mindset. One, she wants you to win. She wants you to be successful. As Bunny says, every first date a girl goes on, she wants it to be her last first date she ever has to go on. So she wants you to be charming and handsome, and to basically seduce her so she can stop having to go out with all these losers and randos and move on with her life. And that's what they're looking for. And with men, what I always try to convey is, most men, average guys, go out and they're trying to, when we talk about adversarial, she's resistant and he's trying to win her over. But when you run game, we flip the script, because women want to chase. Now, yes, all the way up until when you're banging on a regular basis, you're kind of making everything happen. And then the girls will naturally start to chase. But the first time that she will start to chase you is on that first date when you run game, because just like we say with some of the principles like amuse mastery, a don't give a fuck attitude, irrational self-confidence, these are all things that in a sense put you above her, and she has to pursue you. And women, there's a little bit of a transition time. You can kind of see it when you go out with a girl for the first time. When they're going out with most men are trying to impress her, trying to gain her favor, and trying to, it's almost like mechanically force her into bed. And with guys who are running game, the script is flipped. You're qualifying her. You're going to see if she's actually interesting, because if she's not, you can walk out and call up somebody else and they're over there in 15 minutes. You are qualifying her And it's her job to win your favor, to be compliant, and to join you in the evening. These are things, this is why we always tell guys, instead of saying, hey, do you want to go out with me? It's like, hey, I'm going to go do this. Do you want to come along? It's your life is going to be great, whether she's there or not. And if she'd like to, she can jump on board. And as long as she's cool, you'll be more than happy to have her with you. And that's a completely different mindset, even though it's a natural and it's a mindset that women want and they find most attractive, is that they're along for the ride. And even like Bunny has mentioned before in the past, what do women, when they're looking at all these tens, hundreds, thousands of men that they date or, look at as possible boyfriends or husbands, what are they looking for? And Bunny's really straight up about it. She said they're looking for a lifestyle that they can plug into. They're looking for a bigger dynamic that they could go along with. So they're looking, at a bigger picture, kind of like a vibe per se, because women only think in emotions. It's not a logical progression. But again, they're looking for a lifestyle or a fun time to plug into. And just remember, in the very beginning, you don't have to think about the long term. It's just all successful seductions. Moving that girl from basically a stranger to naked and in your bed is adversarial in nature, but they will help you. They want to be that girl. They want to work with you, but they have to put up some resistance because it's just the way they're designed. And mostly so they just won't feel slutty about it. So there has to be some shit testing. There has to be some coyness. They're going to be a little bit shy in the very beginning. This is just the way they're wired, but you can overcome that. And then at the end, they're chasing you. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And a lot of everything that we do in game pretty much flips the script on the traditional courting behavior, for lack of a better word. So just know that sometimes guys go, why can't it just be easy? Well, that's just not how it's designed. It's designed to be adversarial in nature. I mean, that's okay because you can play it in a different manner. And everybody wins. Girls love game. They love the outcomes. It's just hard for them to wrap their head around it, that it works. And let's see. Next step. An unattractive girl's experience in life is very much like a beta male. They're invisible, struggling, maligned. A beautiful woman's experience is still a different universe, even from an alpha male. For her quasi-royalty, doors open, chairs pulled, houses bought for, money given. And I always I hope I can say this right. Being an attractive woman is like being royalty without the responsibility. And really, they do move through, and they move through life very blessed, and everything tends to be given to them. They're giving passes, money, jobs, security. And again, they don't know any different. And it's very hard for a guy, because that's how, the way it's designed, to actually really kind of imagine how that is moving through the world, because a guy has to earn his keep every day. And very much on one end of the spectrum are attractive women, and on the other end of the spectrum are unattractive men. But attractive men are alphas, and unattractive women, they're almost equal in the middle. And like I said, unattractive women's experience is very much like beta males. They're kind of invisible. Guys look past them. They're not as favored, but even unattractive women are still favored more than men. And even the most alpha male isn't treated as well as an average looking girl. So, an attractive woman, a beautiful woman's experience in life is so foreign to men that they can't really wrap their head around it. It's kind of like when I would have a client that was late because they got stopped. And I always would have to ask, stop for speeding. And I'd always have to ask, did you get a ticket? And they're like, oh, of course not. No, I've never gotten a ticket in my life. I mean, that's just, they know that they may get stopped. Hell, the police officer may just be wanting to meet them and hit on them for all you know. And then they've never been given a ticket. And it's just not something that happens. Kind of like attractive girls never have any money. They literally walk out the door with their driver's license, maybe, but there's no reason to have cash or a credit card because you're never going to need it. So those are just, it's just a different way of moving through the world. And you can't really imagine it as a guy, because you have to earn your keep. But an unattractive girl is a little bit more like a guy's experience, where they kind of have to earn it. They're working. It's kind of like you don't ever see like 8s and 9s working just regular retail jobs. They may be working like something where they own the boutique through their husband or own the salon through their husband, but there's never like the rough and tumble side of work. So an unattractive girl's experience is very much like a beta male, invisible, struggling, maligned. It's a real deal. Let's see what else I got going on here. You think I'd never been on a computer before. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. I really do. And if you have any questions, you need to go to YouTube, because I can't see anything on Twitter. I know we're broadcasting on Twitter, and actually we're probably getting more people seeing us on Twitter. But I can't see your questions if you put them in the reply box. But if you go to YouTube under Fort Worth Playboy and the live, and it'll be the first thing you see, you can ask questions on the right-hand box. You'll notice girls don't complain around alphas. Good feelings only. Betas, family, and girlfriends are open season for nonstop complaining, and probably boyfriends / husbands of any ilk, because that's kind of your role to a certain extent. You do have to take some of that on. But if you're talking about you just want to have a good time, you basically run a rotation. Because when you run a rotation, you're the fun guy. And that's really how you should approach all dates, getting to know a girl, especially when you're still qualifying her for something a little bit more permanent, a little bit more serious. You want to be the fun guy. And I have an entire video up just on being the fun guy. And basically, when they're around you, there's, it's like one guy said, if a girl kind of like came up and, one of his girls or his plates came over and she was kind of like down and disgruntled, and it wasn't something serious, not a death in the family or a sick child, or he just asked him to go home. He said, good feelings only, just there's no reason, because that's not his role to absorb that type of negative energy from a girl. It's good feelings only. You don't want to hang out with him, you better be up. And like Bunny's been very good, but she's a very high energy, positive girl anyway, even under the worst of circumstances. But she brings that high energy positivity, and it takes a lot to kind of get her on the negative side. But other women, especially depending on how much trauma they've experienced before they meet you, are probably easier to trigger, and they will attempt, and it's kind of a test just to see if you'll take it sometimes. They'll attempt to kind of like unload their problems on you. And, a lot of guys they try to be sympathetic, but not a sponge. And they're like, hey, maybe this isn't the best time for us to hang out. Maybe you should work through whatever's going on. And it's not that I don't care. It's just that I can't help you at all. But you'll notice that most girls do intrinsically know not to complain around alphas. They want to put their best foot forward. Good feelings only. Betas, family, and girlfriends are open season for nonstop complaining. Not all girls. I gotta say that we do kind of put out in our world that women do complain a lot, and it's not necessarily. I think it's the 80-20. 80% do complain a lot about a lot of things, and 20% not so much. It just depends on her temperament and how she's wired. But again, you'll notice girls don't complain around alphas. They just want him to have a good time with her. She wants him to have the connotation of it's a good thing when she comes around. Royce, who is the author of Chateau Artiste, used to suggest when wanting to break up with a girl, increase your beta behaviors. Text incessantly, profess your love constantly, be needy, hang on to her physically. As she pulls back, what's wrong with you? We can tell each other anything. She will quickly break up with you. And if you don't think this is accurate, imagine how many divorces are caused because a guy started out kind of like either an alpha or a mix of alpha and beta. And then over time, because marriage and serious relationships has I hope I can say this the right, betatization. It has a way of betatizing men. It tends to push their behaviors and the way they behave into a more beta, supportive provider role. No matter where they start at, it's always going to take that edge off of them to some extent. But if it takes too much of an edge off of them, she loses attraction. And that's where you get girls going, yeah, when I married him, I really liked him and he was exciting and fun to be around. And now I can't stand it. And he's so boring because he has moved into so far away from how she met him that it pushes her away. And you can use this because there's a lot of guys that don't like shitting on girls. And, guys have all kinds of reasons they want to get rid of a regular girlfriend. They want to play the field. They find something better. An old girlfriend comes back on the scene. There's 1,000 reasons. But instead of giving her the, hey, it's not you, it's me and all that, Royce would suggest that you just start acting more like a beta. And you would be surprised how fast this pushes a girl away. Just that constant contact, professing your love constantly, just smothering her. And even under the best circumstances, women will run and it will be all their idea. So that's something that you can always kind of keep in the back of your head if you're not the type of guy that can handle confrontation. Girls will leave very quickly, and you would be surprised at how fast. Should you change your colors or change your spots into much more of a beta, it's repulsive. And so it works like nothing else. You just have to be, how would we say, you had to really stick with the plan. You had to really commit yourself to the character because so many guys, it's not them. But if you want it, you can have it. You'll have your freedom or your independence given back to you very quickly. Girls are deeply resentful that game exists. In her mind, it allows a man to scramble her beta detecting radar and bomb her pussy with his sperm. And she's right. That's a real deal. A lot of women don't not like game. They don't like what game delivers, which is alpha behaviors in front of women. It masks basically a beta or a beta behaviors with alpha behaviors. So it allows you, because again, game is learned charisma. You're learning to be charismatic, and that's the main driver of women's attraction. So girls don't like it because they're naturally looking for the highest level that they can attain male sperm or male that they can attach themselves to. And game artificially, to a certain extent, at least in the beginning, when you're faking it till you make it, can artificially hide beta behaviors. It teaches you what to actually do instead of naturally knowing what to do or it not coming naturally. But again, it's kind of like fake tits because guys always go, they don't like fake tits, but actually they respond to fake boobs as well or better than natural boobs because they actually look better. And the interesting thing with game is it sends out a signal to women that it's a artificial signal, but it's a real signal to them, just like fake boobs are to us. You can't discern. They don't know the difference. And even when they do know the difference, it still turns them on. It's an interesting quandary, even if they know you're running game, and sometimes they do. It doesn't not turn them on because it works. They can't help it. Just like when you see a big set of fake boobs, you go, oh, those couldn't be real. But it doesn't not, arouse a man when he sees a great big set of firm tits. It just doesn't. It's just how we're wired, and that's why a lot of women don't like it. They resent that it exists because it allows betas to scramble their radar, because everything they're out there looking for this behavior, beta behavior, and it's not surfacing. So they have a right to be kind of like disgruntled, but that's not our problem. That's their problem. It's like Nuclear says, sex is our concern, relationships are their concerns. So we all have our own roles. And then we'll do one more and see what else we have going on this morning. And it's Good Friday, and I think a lot of people are off. I noticed people were leaving even earlier this week. Bunny and I noticed that people already checked out. Like by Wednesday, there's like no traffic. So at times, a girl will try to smoke out the beta with her politics. Lefties and feminists are notorious for this. If she brings up being woke, neg and redirection. She doesn't want to talk about that silly shit anyways. She wants a sexy man to entertain her and then destroy her pussy. And that really is what most girls would be completely happy with. One of the old Red Pill cartoons, the entire basis of feminism summed up. And generally they do. I mean, around beta men, they, will spout their feminist ideology. And then when alphas come into the realm or into their space, a lot of that stuff goes away. And I try to convey to men, not if they see a girl they find attractive, but she holds certain ideas counter to yours, or let's say they're very much a feminist or a leftist, or she has a taste in music, like she likes country, you like rock and roll. She has certain hobbies that she likes that are counter to yours. None of that really matters, because when a girl is around a man that she finds attractive, she will naturally pick up his habits, his likes and dislikes, his political views. All of it tends to go to the wayside. And I try to convey to guys, if you find, let's say 51% of her attractive, and there's like 49% kind of as counter, but you guys still can click, don't worry about the other stuff. As she's around you more and likes you more and more, she will pick up your likes, dislikes, hobbies, and political beliefs. There are exceptions, of course, but the exceptions tend to prove the rule. And that's one thing I try to convey. Oh, I know this guy, he's conservative and she's a real liberal. But most women will pick up their boyfriend or husband's conservative views over time. He's a very strong influence in her life. And feminism is just not, it's feminism, but it's not feminine. And most girls around a strong guy want to be as feminine as possible. And it's that polarity. So, and they may even be a believer away from him, but when he shows up, all that goes out the window, and she's like giggling and laughing and punching him in the arm, and he's teasing her and, screwing around. You see like two different people sometimes. They're like, what took over? Worry too much about all of their political stuff. In fact, you're a welcome relief when you show up on their radar that there's an alpha in their midst. So those are the things we're going into this weekend with. It was a different week, and next week will be even better. And if you missed Bunny and I, the morning hustle yesterday morning, where we took apart Andrew Huberman, I think it's the New Yorker story Mr. Huberman and his basically fan club of ex-girlfriends and orbiters and plates and all that. It's a study in an alpha, whether he is self-made, self-taught, a natural, or learned game over time. Um, a fascinating and nearly flawless um, run of game, and he's been running it for probably over at least 10 to 15 years, maybe his entire life. But it's interesting to read. There's a lot of, and if you want to watch the videos, we basically takes about 60 minutes. We take it apart, sentence, not sentence by sentence, but by paragraph, and the game principles that are applied and are visible. And this is one of them. You know, he would take these girls that were very much a feminist, go girl, highly educated, professional. And after a while, they're like, all I want to do is have babies and cook for my man. And so it's a good on the ground example of the effect that alpha men will have on all women in their orbit or in their solar system. So check it out. Check the video out. Definitely check out the article. And if you have any questions, by all means, you can text us. You can reach out through the DMs. You can reach out on the timeline. On the YouTube, we check the YouTube comments. But I will be back here at 7 a.m. on Monday. We'll go through the timeline. There's going to be a little bit of a change up in the format, more game application. And I hope you have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you then. And I appreciate you watching this morning. Have a great Friday afternoon.